In the landscape of reality television, there are villains we love to hate, and then there are figures who witness their own empires crumble in real time, paralyzed by a lack of self-awareness so profound it almost feels scripted. But for Kody Brown, the patriarch of the once massive sister wives family, the script has run out, and the improvisation is leading to a total PR catastrophe. For months, rumors have swirled, and fans have speculated that Kody was desperate for a redemption arc, a Special Forces-style reinvention. We aren't just talking about the reality show Special Forces, World's Toughest Test, though fans have begged to see him on it just to watch him break. We are talking about a metaphorical attempt to rebrand himself as the misunderstood, stoic alpha male who carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. The narrative he wanted to sell was simple. He was the soldier, the general, the man who sacrificed everything, only to be betrayed by disloyal wives. It was supposed to be his comeback season. It was supposed to be the moment the audience finally said, "Oh, Kody was right all along." But that redemption arc didn't just fail. It was obliterated. And it wasn't destroyed by the editing room or by the lies of his ex-wives, Christine, Janelle, and Mary. It was destroyed by Kody Brown himself. Specifically, it was destroyed by his inability to stop talking. In a series of recent clips, interviews, and leaked sentiments, Kody has managed to undo years of potential sympathy in a matter of seconds. He has taken the shovel and dug the hole deeper, proving that the Special Forces toughness he projects is actually a fragile ego wrapped in a perm. Today, we are doing a massive deep dive into the psychology of this collapse. We are going to dissect the specific comments that shook his fanbase to the core, analyze why his tough guy rebranding is laughable to anyone paying attention, and explain exactly how his own big mouth has ensured that he will go down in reality TV history not as a martyr, but as the architect of his own loneliness. This is the story of a man who wanted to be a king but ended up the jester of Coyote Pass. Buckle up, because the delusion runs deep. To understand why Kody's current spiral is so fascinating, we first have to understand the image he is desperately trying to project. Over the last 3 seasons, as Christine left, followed quickly by Janelle and Mary, Kody shifted his personality. He stopped trying to be the goofy golden retriever dad and started leaning hard into what internet culture calls the red pill or manosphere rhetoric. He began using military terminology to describe his marriage. He spoke about loyalty, betrayal, enemies, and allies. He framed the breakup of his family not as a relationship failure, but as a mutiny on a ship where he was the captain. This is where the Special Forces concept comes into play. There has been intense speculation and, frankly, a lot of fan fiction about Kody joining a show like Special Forces or Traitors to rehabilitate his image. The idea is that if he could prove physical toughness, if he could show resilience in the mud and the cold, people would respect him again. He wanted to pivot from failed polygamist to hardened survivor. But here is the fatal flaw in that strategy, a flaw that his recent behavior has exposed in high definition. True resilience, the kind required for actual redemption, requires silence. It requires the ability to take a hit and keep moving without complaining. Kody Brown is incapable of this. Every time he attempts to project strength, he undercuts it with whining. You cannot claim to be an alpha leader of a family while simultaneously screaming that nobody listens to you. You cannot claim to be a stoic Special Forces caliber man while throwing a tantrum because you weren't the center of attention at a family gathering. The audience sees the disconnect. When Kody sits on that couch and tells the host that he suffered to love these women, he thinks he sounds heroic. He thinks he sounds like a man who made the ultimate sacrifice. But to the rest of the world, he sounds like a man attempting to rewrite history to soothe his own bruised ego. The redemption was dead on arrival because the leading man doesn't understand the script. He thinks the villain is the hero, and he's confused why the audience isn't clapping. If there was a specific moment where the Special Forces redemption arc was officially incinerated, it was the moment Kody decided to claim he never loved his first 3 wives. This is the big mouth moment we need to scrutinize. For years, the show was sold on the premise of love multiplied. We watched weddings, births, and tender moments. Now, faced with rejection, Kody's defense mechanism is to claim the entire past was a lie. He recently articulated a narrative that he was performing his duties, that he was essentially a martyr who married these women out of obligation or pity, and that Robyn was the only one he ever truly loved. He thinks this absolves him. He thinks saying, "I didn't love them," explains why the marriages failed. But let's look at the logic here, because this is where he obliterates his own character. By claiming he never loved them, Kody isn't hurting the ex-wives anymore. They have moved on. He is hurting his own credibility. If he never loved them, then he is admitting to being a fraud for 30 years. He is admitting that he used these women for their reproductive capabilities, their financial contributions, and their television appeal, all while secretly harboring disdain for them. This doesn't make him a victim. It makes him a predator. It makes him a con artist. And the audience, who has receipts going back to 2010, knows he is lying. We have seen the eyes. We have seen the jealousy. We have seen the passion in the early days. By lying about the past to protect his ego in the present, Kody proved that he lacks the fundamental integrity required for any redemption arc. A redeemed man admits his mistakes. A redeemed man says, "I loved them, but I failed them." Kody says, "I never loved them, so their pain doesn't count." It is a level of callousness that shook even his most staunch defenders to the core. It was the verbal equivalent of burning the bridge while he was still standing on it. The big mouth problem extends beyond romance into the realm of finance and responsibility, another area where Kody tries to project a boss image but reveals a chaotic reality. In his quest to paint himself as the provider who was taken advantage of, he has frequently mentioned how he carried the family. He talks about the poverty he endured. Yet, recent reports and eagle-eyed viewers have noticed the extreme disparity in lifestyle between Kody/Robyn and the rest of the family. While Janelle was worrying about paying off the land at Coyote Pass, Kody was spotted wearing expensive watches, driving nice trucks, and filling his home with floor-to-ceiling artwork. When he opens his mouth to complain about being fleeced by his ex-wives, women who have been working and contributing to the family pot for decades, he reveals a stunning level of financial narcissism. The Special Forces mindset is about the team. It is about leave no man behind. Kody's mindset is leave everyone behind so I can buy more precious moments figurines. His recent commentary suggesting that the wives were after his money is particularly galling because the public record suggests the opposite. The original 3 wives contributed to the fund that bought the McMansion he currently sleeps in. When he speaks on this, trying to rewrite the ledger, he alienates the audience further. He wants to be seen as the tycoon, the savvy businessman, but his words reveal a man who squandered the family fortune on bad real estate deals and lifestyle creep, only to blame the women who were trying to budget. Every time he brings up money, he reminds the audience of the nanny conversation. He reminds us of the disparity. He reminds us that while he demands the respect of a king, he refuses to carry the burden of the crown. We cannot discuss Kody Brown's mouth without discussing the monologue that will haunt him forever, the knife in the kidneys speech. At the time, it was meme-worthy. But in retrospect, and combined with his recent doubling down, it serves as the tombstone for his reputation. A man seeking redemption would look back at that moment, screaming at the mother of his children on a porch while she remained calm, and express regret. He would say, "I lost my temper. I was hurting." Instead, Kody has spent the last year justifying that rage. He frames his anger not as a flaw, but as a righteous indignation. He truly believes he was the injured party. This is why the redemption is impossible. You cannot redeem someone who refuses to admit they are broken. Kody views his rage as a weapon of justice. He views his cruelty as truth-telling. When he speaks now, in podcasts or the show's confessionals, there is a seething undercurrent of violence in his language. Not necessarily physical, but emotional violence. He wants them to hurt. He wants the audience to validate his hurt. But because he lacks the charisma to pull off the tortured anti-hero look, he just comes across as a bitter ex-husband who can't believe his control freak tactic stopped working. He is the emperor with no clothes, screaming at the villagers for not complimenting his outfit. The more he explains his anger, the less justifiable it becomes. He is talking himself out of a career. Interestingly, the only person who seems to realize that Kody's mouth is his own worst enemy is Robyn. Watch the recent footage closely. You will see moments where she physically recoils when he starts going off script. She tries to interrupt, to soften his words, to translate Kody speak into human emotion. She knows that saying "I never loved them" is a PR suicide mission. She knows that saying "I don't care about my kids" is the end of the show. But Kody, in his unleashed state, is no longer listening even to her. He is bulldozing over her attempts at damage control. This creates a fascinating dynamic where the head of the household is actually a liability to the household's survival. The show Sister Wives is their primary income source. By making himself so unlikable, so irredeemable, and so hateful, Kody is risking the cancellation of the platform that feeds his ego. Robyn is watching the ship sink, frantically bailing water with a teaspoon, while Kody is busy drilling more holes in the hull because he thinks it improves the ventilation. His refusal to be managed, his refusal to take PR advice, and his absolute insistence on airing his darkest, most toxic thoughts is what has obliterated the redemption. He has gone rogue. And a rogue agent who cannot complete the mission is of no use to the franchise. In the end, the tragedy of Kody Brown is not that he lost 3 wives. Marriages end. People grow apart. The tragedy is that he had a platform to show the world how a family navigates grief and change, and instead, he chose to burn it all down to protect an image that no longer exists. He wanted to be the Special Forces survivor, the man who walked through fire and came out stronger. But the fire was his own anger, and he didn't walk through it. He sat down in the middle of it and demanded an apology from the flames. His redemption arc is dead because redemption requires growth, and Kody Brown is shrinking. He is shrinking into a smaller life, a smaller house, metaphorically, and a smaller mindset. His big mouth didn't roar, it whined. It revealed the insecurities of a man terrified of irrelevance. He shook himself to the core, realizing too late that in the war of public opinion, he brought a knife to a nuclear fight. He is the king of nothing, ruling over a kingdom of dirt on Coyote Pass, with only the echoes of his own excuses to keep him company. The Special Forces would have rejected him, not because he isn't strong, but because he doesn't know when to shut up and listen. And for Kody Brown, that silence will be the loudest sound of all. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel where we dive deep into the wild world of reality TV drama, family feuds, and celebrity meltdowns. Today, we're tackling one of the most explosive stories to come out of the fall 2025 TV season. Kody Brown, the infamous patriarch from TLC's Sister Wives, thought he could march into Fox's Special Forces, world's toughest test, and emerge as a redeemed hero, a man who's faced his demons, rebuilt his image, and earned the respect he so desperately craves from his estranged kids and the public. But oh boy, did that plan backfire spectacularly. In this epic, in-depth breakdown, and I mean epic folks, we're going long here because this story has layers upon layers. We're going to unpack how Kody's own big mouth, as he calls it, absolutely obliterated any shot at redemption. We'll cover his background, why he joined the show, the blow-by-blow of his time on Special Forces Season 4, the controversies that erupted like grenades, his emotional breakdowns, the shocking finale, and the aftermath where he doubled down and made everything worse. If you're a Sister Wives fan, a reality TV junkie, or just love a good tale of self-sabotage, buckle up. This is going to be a roller coaster. Hit that like button if you're ready, subscribe for more deep dives, and let's get into it. First things first, for those who might be new to the Kody Brown saga, let's set the stage with some essential background because understanding where Kody was coming from is key to grasping why Special Forces was supposed to be his big redemption arc. Kody Brown burst onto our screens back in 2010 with Sister Wives, a TLC reality show that followed his polygamous family, one husband, 4 wives, and a whopping 18 children. It was marketed as this quirky, loving look at plural marriage, but over the years, it devolved into a masterclass in dysfunction. Kody, with his flowing locks and self-proclaimed alpha male vibe, positioned himself as the wise leader of this sprawling clan. But cracks started showing early. Favoritism toward his 4th and youngest wife, Robyn, constant bickering among the wives, Mary, Janelle, Christine, and Robin, and Kody's increasingly erratic behavior. Fast forward to the 2020s, and the pandemic hit the Browns like a wrecking ball. Kody imposed strict COVID rules that alienated his older kids and wives, leading to explosive arguments. Christine left him in 2021, Janelle in 2022, Mary in 2023, poof, 3 divorces in quick succession. Suddenly, Kody was down to one wife, Robin, and estranged from most of his kids. We're talking no contact levels with many of them, including heartbreaking stories from his children about feeling neglected or betrayed. Kody's public image tanked. He was labeled narcissistic, controlling, and out of touch. In interviews, he'd rant about betrayal, but fans saw through it. This was a man who'd prioritized one relationship over the others and paid the price. By 2025, with Sister Wives Season 20 airing, Kody was desperate for a reset. He wanted respect, especially from his kids who he claimed had picked sides with their moms. Enter Special Forces, World's Toughest Test, a brutal reality competition where celebrities endure mock military training in harsh environments. For Kody, at 56 years old, this wasn't just about physical endurance. It was a chance to prove his manhood, as he put it, and show the world and his family that he could handle adversity, take accountability, and come out stronger. In pre-show interviews, he hinted at this redemption motive, saying things like, "Men want respect, and I want my children to respect me." Little did he know, his participation would expose more flaws than it fixed, all thanks to that infamous big mouth of his. Now, let's rewind to the announcement of Special Forces Season 4, which premiered in late September 2025, because the hype around Kody's involvement was already stirring the pot. Fox dropped the cast list in August, and there was Kody rubbing shoulders with a mix of athletes, influencers, and other reality stars. Think Olympic gymnast Shawn Johnson, podcaster Brianna, Chickenfry LaPaglia, NFL players like Randall Cobb and Johnny Manziel, Real Housewives icons Teresa and Gia Giudice, and even controversial figures like Jussie Smollett. The show, filmed in Morocco's unforgiving desert and mountains, promised the harshest, most grueling challenges from actual special forces training. Think endless hikes with heavy packs, cold water immersions, combat simulations, and psychological interrogations designed to break you down. Kody, in his pre-show posts on social media, his first in months after a hiatus following his son Garrison's tragic passing in 2024, framed it as a personal quest. "I'm here to push my limits and earn that respect," he wrote, tagging it with hashtags like #manup and #redemption. But fans were skeptical from the jump. On Reddit's r/TL_sisterwives, threads exploded with predictions. "Kody's ego is going to clash with everyone," one user wrote. "He's going to say something sexist and get roasted." And boy, were they right. Even before the first episode aired, leaks and teasers showed Kody falling dramatically during a challenge and barking orders at castmates. In an exclusive Us Weekly interview, Kody admitted to fake wheezing during training to conserve energy, a sneaky tactic that already hinted at his willingness to game the system rather than fully commit. He described it as a strategic move, saying, "I was trying to save my strength for the big pushes." But critics called it dishonest, especially in a show that's all about authenticity and grit. This set the tone. Kody wasn't there just to survive. He was there to lead, to dominate, and, unfortunately, to talk his way into trouble. As he told Entertainment Tonight in September, "I'm a Gen X man, it's a different culture. Most of them were millennials or Gen Z, like my kids' age. I came across as bossy." Translation: his big mouth was about to cause some serious friction. Diving into the season itself, let's break it down episode by episode because this is where Kody's redemption started strong but quickly unraveled, thanks to a series of foot-in-mouth moments that had viewers cringing and tweeting up a storm. Episode 1, the premiere on September 25, 2025, hit the ground running, literally. The recruits were dropped into the Moroccan wilderness and immediately faced a backward dive into icy water, followed by a grueling march. Kody, surprisingly, held his own physically at first, completing the dive and pushing through the hike. But it was his confessional that lit the fuse for controversy. "I'm gonna say this at the risk of sounding sexist," he said on camera, "but I think men want to be respected and women want to be loved. I don't care if you love me. I care if you respect me." Boom, the internet erupted. Viewers on X, formerly Twitter, slammed him hard, excited for non-Sister Wives fans to experience the misogyny and foolery of Kody Brown.